A $400 drone just killed the most feared tank in history. A $400 FPV drone, the size of a dinner plate, flying faster than the Tiger I could ever move, and the crew inside never heard it coming. Here's the thing, flip the scenario around and the result is just as insane. Drop Britain's Challenger 2 into the Eastern Front in 1944 and Soviet tank commanders would be radioing back in absolute panic. Their guns can't touch it, their entire doctrine falls apart in real time, and the British tank doesn't even notice. Two tanks, two eras. One of them would be a museum piece on the modern battlefield. The other one is still out there killing things right now. Let's establish something up front. The Tiger I was not supposed to exist. Germany rushed the design into service in late 1942 after running into Soviet KV-1s and T-34s that their existing panzers simply couldn't kill at range. The answer was brute force, a 57-ton machine with 100 millimeters of hull frontal armor, an 88mm KWK-36 gun that could punch through almost any Allied tank at over a kilometer, and a reputation so terrifying that Allied commanders wrote specific protocols just for dealing with them. The kill ratio those crews racked up is genuinely staggering. Heavy Tiger battalions destroyed over 8,100 enemy tanks in the war, for the loss of 1,482 of their own. That's a 5.47 to 1 ratio. Soviet infantry units had emergency training sessions specifically teaching crews where to aim to have any chance of cracking one open, because hitting it anywhere else was just making expensive dents. Michael Wittmann, the most famous Tiger commander, destroyed 138 Allied tanks. In a single engagement at Villers-Bocage in Normandy, he personally knocked out 14 British tanks in roughly 15 minutes, then drove back to base while the British tried to figure out what just happened. The after-action report from the British side apparently contained the word inexplicable 4 times, which is very British of them. The Germans, to their credit, did not find it inexplicable at all. But here's the part the myth never tells you. The Tiger I was a mechanical catastrophe waiting to happen. A single 60-mile road march consumed 150 gallons of fuel, and Germany had a fuel crisis from 1943 onwards. The interleaved road wheel system, which gave it that excellent cross-country ride quality, turned into a nightmare in Russian mud and winter. Ice would pack between the wheels overnight and freeze the entire running gear solid by morning. Crews would wake up before dawn, light fires under the hull, and pray the thing could move before Soviet armor showed up. Track failures, engine fires, shattered gearboxes. The Eastern Front ate Tigers from the inside. A significant chunk of all Tiger losses were non-combat write-offs. Not enemy fire, not artillery, just the machine defeating itself. Only 1,347 Tiger I's were ever built in total. For comparison, the Soviets produced over 50,000 T-34s. The Americans built 40,000 Shermans. Germany was essentially sending handcrafted bespoke weapons against a tide of industrialized production. It was a war of attrition, supply lines, mud seasons, and distances that swallowed machines whole. The Tiger won the battles. The Rasputitsa won the war. Britain didn't design the Challenger 2 to look impressive. They designed it to be nearly impossible to kill. Dorchester armor, the composite protection package wrapping the hull and turret, has never been publicly broken down in full detail because it's still classified. What we do know is that in Iraq in 2003, a Challenger 2 took 70 direct RPG hits and a Milan anti-tank missile strike in a single engagement and drove back to base under its own power. The crew was uninjured. The Iraqis were extremely confused. That was Iraq in 2003. Britain looked at that result and decided the design was basically fine. The gun is the other thing worth understanding. The L30A1 is a 120mm rifled barrel, unique among modern NATO tanks which all run smoothbore. Rifled barrels spin the round for dramatically improved accuracy at long range. Ukrainian crews operating the Challenger 2 against Russia describe it as a sniper rifle. One crew confirmed a hit on a Russian IFV at 5,300 meters during the Kursk offensive. That's over 5 kilometers. Most tank engagements in Ukraine happen under 2 kilometers. The Challenger 2 was killing things at distances that made the engagement invisible to the target. Thermal optics, laser rangefinder, full ballistic computer, stabilized gun. The gunner can identify a target in pitch darkness at distance while the tank is moving, and the gun compensates for every variable before the round leaves the barrel. On paper, it's the most complete tank Britain ever sent to war. The Challenger 2 in Ukraine has not had a clean war. Britain sent exactly 14 of them. 14. That's not a force, that's a gesture. The British Army sent 14 tanks to a war zone. For context, a McDonald's franchise has more operational units than that at peak lunch hour. By early 2024, 7 of those 14 were operational. Spare parts take weeks to arrive. The rifle gun barrel wears out after roughly 500 rounds, compared to 1,500 for the smoothbore guns on Abrams and Leopard 2. The tank weighs over 70 tons in full combat kit, and Ukrainian crews report it regularly bogs down in soft soil and needs towing. One crew said the 1,200 horsepower engine feels underpowered for that weight, which is a polite way of saying the most protected tank Britain has ever built sometimes gets stuck in a field. At least 4 Challengers have been confirmed destroyed. The first went down to a Cornet ATGM near Robotyne in 2023. The second was hit by a Lancet loitering munition during the Kursk incursion in 2024. A third was killed by an FPV drone that struck the driver's position while the tank was parked. A fourth lost to a drone hit on the gun mantlet in January 2025. Notice a pattern? Not one of those losses came from another tank. Every single confirmed kill was a drone, a missile, or a loitering weapon that cost somewhere between $400 and a few $1,000s. The most protected tank in the British arsenal, defeated repeatedly not by a peer adversary but by disposable munitions a fraction of its cost. So, let's take that exact machine, every flaw and all, and drop it into summer of 1944. Germany has just lost at Kursk. The Red Army is pushing west across open Ukrainian steppe, and suddenly something appears on the ridgeline that no Soviet commander has ever seen before. A British Challenger 2, alone, in 1944. The T-34's 76mm gun has a maximum effective range against armored targets of roughly 500 to 700 meters. The Challenger 2's Dorchester composite armor laughs at a 76mm round at any range. The upgunned T-34/85, which began reaching frontline units through 1944, fires an 85mm round that could penetrate roughly 100 millimeters of armor at 500 meters. The Challenger 2's frontal protection is classified, but conservative NATO estimates suggest it's equivalent to over 500 millimeters of rolled homogeneous armor. The T-34/85 round doesn't do anything to it. Meanwhile, the Challenger 2's thermal sight is picking up Soviet tanks at 3,000 meters in darkness that Soviet crews can't operate in at all. The ballistic computer is calculating firing solutions in milliseconds. The first round downrange hits a T-34 commander's hatch at 2,800 meters. The Soviets don't even know where it came from. Against the Tiger 1 itself, because inevitably they'd meet, it's no contest. The Tiger's 88mm gun would need a near-perfect flank shot at close range to penetrate Challenger 2 armor. The Challenger 2's 120mm rifled gun would cut through the Tiger's 100mm hull front armor from over a kilometer with ease. The engagement would be over before the Tiger crew had finished calculating range manually. So why doesn't this story have a clean ending? Fuel. The Challenger 2 runs on diesel, about 1,592 liters in its main tanks. A single operational day of heavy combat driving could consume the majority of that. In 1944 Eastern Front conditions, there is no BP petrol station down the road. There are no NATO logistics convoys. There is no recovery vehicle on Earth in 1944 that can tow a 70-ton machine, because the only thing capable of moving a broken Challenger 2 is another Challenger 2. The Soviet Rasputitsa spring mud season, which swallowed German Tigers whole, would also swallow Britain's finest. And when something breaks, a display, the rangefinder, anything with a circuit. There isn't a single person in 1944 who knows what a transistor is, let alone how to replace one. One serious mechanical fault and the most lethal tank of the 20th century becomes a very expensive piece of German-held terrain. My honest take? In a straight tank fight, it's unkillable. Against Soviet infantry with Molotov cocktails and anti-tank rifles, completely different story. A Soviet conscript with a glass bottle and a rag has been defeating over-engineered German armor since 1941. The Challenger 2 is not immune to being swarmed by people with nothing to lose and everything to prove. And frankly, neither was the Tiger. The modern battlefield in 1944 isn't just tanks shooting tanks. It's mud, attrition, and fuel, and those three things don't care what century your machine was built in. The Challenger 2 would be the most terrifying single tank the Eastern Front ever saw. It would also run dry, break down, and be abandoned within weeks. Now for the brutal part. Imagine a Tiger 1 commander, one of the best in the Wehrmacht, transported to the Zaporizhzhia front line in 2025. He's sitting in a machine that was genuinely revolutionary in 1943. He has an 88mm gun that could kill anything on the Eastern Front. He has 100mm of frontal armor that Soviet anti-tank guns spent 2 years trying to crack. He survives approximately 1 hour. Here's why. The moment a Tiger 1 rolls onto the Ukrainian battlefield, it's visible on thermal from kilometers away. Every Ukrainian drone operator in that sector, and there are hundreds of them, immediately has a priority target locked. The Tiger 1 has no thermal suppression, no electronic warfare, no active protection, no counter-drone cage, and a turret traverse so slow it couldn't track a drone if the crew actually saw it coming. It moves at 38 kilometers per hour on roads and significantly slower cross-country. The FPV drone that killed the Challenger 2 near Kursk, a vehicle that Ukraine had paired with dedicated electronic warfare systems, cost around $400. The Tiger 1's armor is 100mm of flat-rolled steel plate. Not composite, not angled, just steel. A modern Cornet ATGM punches through 1,200mm of rolled steel equivalent. The Tiger 1's front armor is 8% of that. A top attack munition, a drone or missile that goes up and then comes down on the thinner roof armor, defeats it instantly. Ukrainian Lancet loitering munitions do exactly that. So do standard artillery bomblets. The Tiger 1's roof armor is 25mm. Anything coming from above goes straight through. But here's the thing that I genuinely find haunting about this scenario. The Tiger 1 crew would have no idea what was happening to them. They'd see nothing. No muzzle flash from the tank that killed them, because there is no tank. Just a drone the size of a dinner plate flying at 120 kilometers per hour that they cannot hear over their own engine. The entire premise of Tiger 1 tactical doctrine, detect the threat visually, engage at range, use armor superiority to absorb return fire, collapses completely because the threats in Ukraine are invisible, cheap, and coming from overhead. The Tiger 1 mechanic who spent 20 minutes every morning greasing wheel bearings would be absolutely destroyed, learning that the machine he lovingly maintained got mission killed by something that cost less than his monthly salary to build. One legitimate area where the Tiger 1 would have a brief window of relevance, if it somehow got into a direct gun duel with an older Soviet-era T-64 or T-72 at very close range before anyone called in a drone. The 88mm round would still go through those hulls from the side. That window would last minutes before satellite surveillance, artillery, or an FPV swarm closed it permanently. The Tiger 1 wasn't outgunned in Ukraine. It was playing chess while everyone else switched to checkers. And checkers cost $400. Here's where I land on this. The Tiger 1. Germany built 1,347 of them. Every one of them genuinely traumatized the armies that faced them. And those kill ratios hold up even after you account for German exaggeration. The Challenger 2 is the product of a nation that decided after 2 world wars they were done losing tank crews to inferior armor. Ukraine's drone swarms found the gaps that no composite plate has an answer for yet. The parallel that actually keeps me up at night. The thing that limited the Tiger 1 in 1944. Logistics, complexity, irreplaceability, a hostile environment the machine wasn't built for, is exactly what's limiting the Challenger 2 in Ukraine in 2025. The British Army looked at the Tiger problem and said, "We need something that can't be killed." They built it. Then the drone came along and found the hatch. Both tanks have limits their designers never anticipated. The Tiger feared the mud. The Challenger 2 fears the $400 drone. Every apex predator eventually meets the thing it wasn't designed for. The difference is that the Challenger 2 is still fighting.